Hi there, so it's time to look at Dark Souls 2 beta yet again, and I thought I'd revisit the Dual Swordsman, because when I uploaded my first video on it, I got some comments that were quite enlightening and I wanted to check some things out. Thank you Stondar for that information, if that is how you pronounce your name. First things first, in my original video I said I was worried that there wasn't any descriptive text for anything that you picked up, because in Dark Souls 1 that is how the story was told, through the items that you pick up. I am happy to report that I was completely wrong about this. If you go into the menu and you go to your inventory and you highlight an item and then press triangle, and there it is, same as it was in Dark Souls, and I am so happy for that. Now, more specifically for the Dual Swordsman, I was told that if you are holding two swords in your hand and you hold triangle, your stance changes and then you have another moveset. So we're going to look at that. So first we're going to look at the normal stance and how that moveset looks, and here it is here. Okay, so let's look at the alternate stance. The first thing you'll notice is not much, because all that happens is that your character lifts up their left sword slightly. Now, some interesting things to note is I was originally running around with a great sword in my right hand, and this stance is not accessible with a great sword in your right hand. You need to have something smaller. Now, something to note is that neither your normal stance or your alternate stance has a parry. However, in the alternate stance, the parry is replaced, so that's your L2 button. It is replaced with a double sword attack that does a lot of damage, and you're about to see that. Now, this takes a while to wind up, so obviously it's not a great opening move. Obviously the best idea is to jab with your L1 with your little sword, and then when they are taken aback by your mighty force, execute this devastating attack. The other thing I will mention is, because you hold triangle to change, it takes a while, and this isn't exactly something that is easy to do mid-combat. So I can see for PvP or some sticky situations you're in, it's not going to be easy for you to change styles. It's almost better to decide to go one way or the other. And lastly, there's the old sword and board. This is obviously a light shield, but the obvious advantage here is that you can riposte, and you can block damage, so you don't have to be dodging around. Probably this is a better option for when you are on the cliff edges, because rolling around isn't always a good idea in those situations. In addition, it is always easy to change back from sword and board to dual swords, so I just don't see a reason not to have a shield handy for general play, unless you have something in mind. But we all know that Dark Souls is that kind of game where you just try crazy things because that's kind of what you do. So when comparing the normal stance with the alternate stance, in conclusion, I do have some thoughts on this. If I had a million zillion wishes, one of them would be that there was more of a distinction between the normal stance and the alternate stance. As it is, the only way you can tell is by looking and seeing if your character has tilted their sword up slightly. And the animations are different, but what I would have liked to have seen is to see your character fight in a completely different style of combat. Regardless, having the option is awesome, and I think that the Dual Swordsman is going to end up being the first character that I play in Dark Souls 2. I love the idea that it has a whole other moveset, and that big double sword attack that you can do certainly makes up for the inability to riposte. In fact, I would rather take my chances with the double sword attack versus stuffing up a riposte. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Hope you have a good one.